Hi guys, my name is Ashley. If you're new here, I make content to help encourage Christian singles, and we are up close and personal today with this camera angle. Every time I think I like a camera angle, I change it, and then I was like, I'm spending way too much time trying to fix this, so I was like, we're just going full send. So sorry if I feel really in your face. And my cats are eating right now. I have to feed them like birds. So, quick side note, if you have cats and if they are struggling with puking on the floor, I learned on TikTok that you are supposed to feed them like chickens, which means like throwing their food across the floor because they're like an anxious eater and they like gorge themselves. So, if you're having that problem, spread their food all over the floor, and that keeps them preoccupied and basically slow eating, and you won't have to deal with that anymore. So side note for you cat owners, but also you get to listen to my cats eat. And also my neighbors are moving, so if you hear random yelling or talking, that is what's happening. I haven't made a video in a little bit, so I do apologize for that. I have been really just preoccupied. I have had kind of a rough start to the new year, and you're like, we are in what, March? Almost April. I'm filming this in March, but I think when I release it, it will be April. So, yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to give you guys an update and I guess a little dating story, if you will, and also just kind of share what God's been speaking to me in singleness and in dating. If you've been following my videos, you know that I really have not dated very much at all these last, I don't know, what is it now, like 3 years. I have gone on very limited dates, and this year I wanted to be a little bit more intentional about trying to go on dates. So right at the start of the year, I went on 2 separate dates, which both were like not ones that I wanted to go on a second date with. So it wasn't like anything bad. We just didn't, like, personality wise and, just chemistry did not match up and goals didn't match. So I didn't continue with any of that. And so then a couple a couple months went by, and this must have been like a couple weeks ago now. I found this guy on a dating app, and he seemed really nice and really just involved in his church and in love with God, and those are things that are really hard to find. So I was kind of excited about this guy. He was tall and he went to the gym, and if you know me, you know that those are things that I really love. And well, the tall part, I'm just tall. So I'm not against dating guys that are shorter than me, but I do prefer them being taller than me. But it's not like a, I'm not going to date you if you're shorter than me type of situation. But anyways, I just wanted to give that as a side note. But the gym is what's important to me. Let's rally back. So yeah, so he was just really hitting a lot of things that were important to me. So I was kind of excited actually to go and meet this guy. And so we went on a coffee date. If you know me, I am about coffee dates first, because if the vibe isn't right, then you can escape. If you're stuck in a dinner with someone, you cannot escape. So I recommend first dates like a coffee date or something short to where if it's not vibing, you can leave. That's just my opinion. You do whatever you want to do in dating. But so we went on this first date, and I am a coffee, like, addicted person. I love coffee, and it makes me sad when people don't like coffee, because I'm like, what are we gonna do? So he was obviously like really into the coffee date. And so when we met, it was like instant like chemistry, like when you meet someone, um, you can just tell when your vibes match. And it was like instant vibe match. And we talked for quite a while. So long, in fact, that it was like a little bit cold outside, but we decided to be outside because it was just a lot more, oh wait, let me back up the story. It was a little bit cold outside, so we decided to be inside. And, but it was like still a sunny day out. And so we were talking for so long that we both drank our coffees and we were just like sitting there talking. And he's like, "Would you like another coffee?" And I have never been asked this on a date, like ever. And I was like, yes, I would. I was like, I love the fact that he wanted more caffeine and that he wasn't judging that for me. And I was like, yes, green lights. Yeah, so he got us more coffee, so that was fun. And we actually closed the place out. And he's like, "Would you like to still hang out, like outside?" And I was like, yes. And so we ended up talking, I think, for maybe another hour after the coffee shop closed, just outside. And then we said like our goodbyes, but he walked me to my car, which I thought was very sweet because it was like 2 blocks away from where we met. And it was also at that point getting fairly cold outside. So yeah, I thought that was really sweet. And so it was just like green vibe, green flags all the way around. And when you meet on a dating app, it's like one of those things where you ask the questions. And on the app before we met, I asked him, just like relationship status wise, like, why are you single? And he said that he was divorced recently. And in my mind, when someone says they're recently divorced, it's like 3 to 4 months out. Like that to me is recent, or even 6 months, I still feel is recent. So I didn't like push that topic of how far out he had been from divorce, but when we talked, he did like share the reasons for his divorce and stuff. And so I was like, they were legitimate reasons. And I was like, okay, not having any issues with that. But um, so I I was like, okay, like definitely he was wanting to do a second date, and I was like, yeah, let's definitely do a second date. So for our second date, I also love hiking. So he was like, "Do you want to go hiking and like maybe grab some drinks before or after?" And I was like, "Okay, that'd be great." And so we had this second date planned, and when I met him, it was like a totally different person. He was like to the max stressed. Like you could just tell like something was very off, like totally different person than what I had initially met. And we were like talking, and like I could just tell something was wrong. And then finally, like, I don't know, maybe like 15, 20 minutes into our date, I was like, what's going on? Like, you seem, kind of like preoccupied, like not present in the conversation. And he said that his ex was supposed to sign his divorce papers that day, and that she refused because she wanted more money. And in that moment, my heart just sank. Like, I I was like so disappointed. And just in that moment, like I was like, well, why would you tell me you were divorced when obviously you're not yet? And, and now you're actually still married. Like your divorce has not been finalized, it's not over. And, um, and so I had to like meet him with grace as well. And, because he's obviously not on the fault side of this, but, he's kind of stuck in the middle. But I was like, okay, um, I'm not comfortable with dating someone who is married, even though your plan is to get divorced. Like in my mind, like you are still married, and I told him, I think even in my mind, like I was thinking you were at least 3 or 4 months out of your relationship. And, I just kind of assumed that. But I told him that I wasn't comfortable like dating him at this time, and like he understood. And then he just went on to say like what an amazing person I was, and how um, just basically he started saying like a very sweet and kind things to me. And in that moment I just like lost it, like not in a bad way, but I just started crying. Like, and if you know me, I in my dating history, like I've not cried on dates like ever. I've always been more like the level-headed person in dating, and just not letting my emotions get the best of me. Like staying very level-headed. So this was very outside of character for me, and but I like it was like a weight of disappointment of just being lied to. Um, when I think like on past exes and past relationships, um, just lying being the main thing that prevented the relationships, and in that it was just like kind of like a dagger to my heart. Like, is there ever gonna be someone honest in my life? Like, is there ever gonna be someone who is truthful to me? And I think in that moment of talking with this guy, like I was just processing that disappointment, like processing the fact that, here I was like trusting this person to be honest. And you know you know like I get the situation that he was in too. Like, I'm not faulting necessarily him, but at the end of the day, like, you still have to be honest with people. Like, you still have to be truthful, even if you're not in the situation that you want to be in. And that's what I told him. I was like, I understand that you are kind of stuck because you're trying to get through this divorce, but I told him you need to be okay with being alone. Like, I've been alone for such a long time, and I didn't necessarily word it like this, but in my mind it's like it's selfish to have a relationship or have someone in your life so you're not alone. And you really have to be okay with being alone, and dragging another person into, like, if you're going through a divorce, or if you're just tired of being lonely, just bringing someone in just to feel that loneliness is really truly selfish. And I tell this to girls all the time, like, who are kind of like serial daters, I feel, just kind of using guys just to have a date, just so they're not lonely on a Friday night or Saturday night. Don't use people. Just don't use people. They're humans, and they have feelings, and the fact that you are, I guess, like, entertaining them just so you don't have to be alone is a very unkind thing to do to someone else, whether you're a woman or a male. And so, yeah, it was sad, and I was embarrassed, like, so embarrassed. Like, yeah, it was. And like he didn't really know what to do because he's like, why is this girl crying? Probably is what he was thinking. Yeah, it was weird. So we left very like on good terms. I told him, I was like, if you're free in 4 to 6 months, you can reach out to me, but like, you need time to heal. Like, you need time to just process everything. And I don't necessarily think it's wise to leave one relationship and just jump into another one. Um, you might have a different view on that. We're all different people, so like no judgment if that's like how your relationship started. Um, so yeah, just stepping away from that and that experience was just really heartbreaking for me. Is really disappointing. And I told God, I was just like, I'm just so sick of being hurt. Like, I'm so sick of not having like a successful relationship. And really, at the start of the new year, if you watch my prior videos, I had decided to fast and seek God, and He gave me my word for the year, which I'll make another video about that. I'm not going to share it here. But I was like kind of not rejecting that word, but it was just a hard one for me. And but anyways, I felt through especially the month of February, like February was just really hard because I felt like I was going through like the grieving of the loss of, I guess, like I don't want to say like the hope, but just kind of grieving the fact that if God doesn't have marriage for me or doesn't have children for me, then like I'm still gonna pursue him. I'm still gonna chase after him. I'm not going to compromise everything just so I can have a relationship, or just so that I can have a husband, or just so I can have a kid. I think Satan makes those things look really desirable and really easy to compromise. And, you know, it's hard whenever you want something so badly, but it's just not coming through for you. Um, it's just not working out. And I went to a women's conference, I guess, and this lady who was speaking, oh man, I can't remember her name. I think it's Chelsea Smith, and she wrote a book, um, something to the effect of like singles in a couple's world or something. I'll put like a screenshot of her book on here because I can't remember exactly what it is called. But she was just kind of sharing like her frustrations and dating and her frustrations as a single, and we're actually the same age. Like when she was writing this book, she's obviously like older now, but when she was writing this book as a single, like we're the same age. And so in that, I just felt like God was really showing me that he was like saw where I was at. Like he understood that the disappointment of singleness is hard, and letting go of what you desire most is hard, but to still be faithful and to finish well. And so through February and I would say the start of March, it was just a season of grieving, a season of letting my heart's desire go over to the Lord. And in her book, because it was interesting, like the timing of getting this book, because I had just kind of exited out of my grieving period and just trying to figure out like, okay, I grieve the loss of this, and where do I stand now, because like being okay with never receiving this, and I was like, do I just, never date or never hope for anyone? And in her book, she was just saying, she had grieved the loss of ever having a relationship and, ever being a mother. And in that, she was sharing how God, like, still gave her the word to contend, um, and to still hope for a husband and to still hope for children. It's like a fine balance between, um, I guess setting something up as a hope and contending for it, but still being okay if you never receive it. Like it's a fine balance. And um but I think that brought me a lot of peace. Like it brought me a lot of peace because I'm like, okay, I've grieved the loss of this, but I'm also going to stand in hope and contend for this man, whether he comes or doesn't come. I'm still going to contend. And what God gave me as like kind of like an encouragement, he said finish with excellence. And the Bible, throughout the Bible, it has a lot of words of, finishing well and endurance, and uh, Paul talking about running the race. um, I think we just need to, in that, know that there is a finish. And how do we want to finish? How do we want to have people look back on our lives? And that was, I feel like a big challenge for me, because part of me, like, I'll be super honest, like part of me just wanted to completely throw in the towel and just be like, okay, I'm just, just gonna start dating, and, kind of like be selfish in dating, right? Like that, there's this the temptation, because Satan on the other side has you, you can find someone and not be alone. You can fulfill the desires of your flesh quite easily in this world. Um, and, just having grace in that, having grace in your failures, and having grace in the fact that um, we live in a fallen world, and it's hard, like it's hard standing alone, and it's hard being alone, and it's hard continually showing up whenever it feels like God doesn't see you, or it feels that you just aren't getting your prayers answered. And I think that's why God gave me that word, like finish in excellence. And He gave me another word actually last week. I was still like praying about it. I'm going through like other things, but a lot of suffering. And I was just like praying about it and feeling kind of like suffering was just my lot since the whole start of the year. And if you're a really goal oriented person and you're just going through suffering and there's not a lot of things happening for you, it can be very defeating, because you're just like, man, I want to be past the suffering. I want to be past this, you know, hardship. Like I want to be like in this victorious place where I'm on the side of my answered prayers. And when you're not on the side of your answered prayers, it's really hard. And and God, just when I was talking to him about suffering, he spoke like so beautifully. um, but he told me there's still fruit in suffering. And I really needed to hear that, because I just felt so unfruitful. Like I felt like nothing was coming about for me, nothing was springing up for me, and it was truly just suffering, and it was really frustrating. And but in that, like God so lovingly spoke, there's still fruit in suffering, and like this isn't an unfruitful season, even though it's a painful season. And I I just was reminded of that God is near to the brokenhearted. Um, he's with those who are mourning, and I really, I just needed to hear that. Like, he wipes away every tear. Um, and he understands what you're going through. And I think about Job and the pain that he went through losing his family, and just the pain of having friends that didn't understand what he was going through. Um, God still understands what you're going through, and the frustration of suffering. If you're in that season, I want to share that word with you, and I want you to be able to take it as your own and be encouraged that that word is for you as well. There's still fruit in suffering, and to lean into God and to continually give yourself over as a sacrifice. I would say continuing to fast, like fasting is huge. I don't know where I would be in this season if it wasn't for fasting. Fasting helps you just really die to your flesh, really die to its desires, really die to just the attacks of the enemy and how he tries to crush your spirit. And leaning into the people who love you, and leaning into the people who champion you, and the people who will speak life and pray over you, because we need that community and we need that encouragement. And so this video was kind of all over the place, but I just wanted to kind of give a picture of the start of the year. And yeah, I think my next video I'll share my word for the year, unless something else happens that I need to update you with. But I want to let you know you're not alone. I want to let you know if you're going through something hard, that God sees you. And oh, I did think of something else. I was like, what were all the things I wanted to share? One other thing, just as I was, processing grief, letting go of things. Last year, I shared in my videos that I do prayer walks, and they're typically like a couple hours because I'll walk quite a ways. So in those, like, it's very intentional. And last year I did it a lot through the summer. And like summer, is just it's hard for me going through it alone because there's so many things I want to do with a spouse and someone else to share those memories with. And as I was grieving, that was one of the things that I was really sad about. I was like, God, I'm going to have to go through another summer of these prayer walks alone. And for some reason, that was just really sad to me, really isolating and lonely. And I was just like, God, I don't think I can go through another summer like that. And God once again just lovingly met me, and He's like, I'm using you as a prayer warrior. Like, I'm using you to fight battles for people, with battles they can't face by themselves, even if, you don't get any credit for it, or even if they don't even know that you're praying for them. It's like a seed that's being planted in the ground that no one else can see, but God sees it. And that was also kind of when He spoke to me about finish with excellence. And I think one of the things that, as I laid that down, it was really laying down selfishness, right? It was laying down like my heart, my selfishness of like, I can't go through this again. But God, like, so lovingly was like, yes, you can. Like, you can if you love me the most. you can, if you're okay with dying to yourself and loving others above yourself, because, it's a selfless act where you're doing something for other people who probably maybe don't even care. like, um, but that's truly what it is to love others above yourself and to, um, I guess, care that that is your spiritual gift. Being someone who prays for other people and not despising your gift, because sometimes I think maybe we have gifts that we don't necessarily want, like maybe it's a hard gift that you have and it's hard to put it into actual practice because of the self-sacrifice that it takes. Um, but I do want to encourage you, like whatever your giftings are, to truly lay those before the Lord and say, God, I'm going to serve you in these gifts, and like give me the strength to walk in these gifts, and help me to die to myself and help me to walk in obedience. And it has to be motivated by love. It has to be motivated by true like selflessness. And so just asking God that he would help you in that, and being real with wherever you're at with that. So, yeah, that was a little side tangent, a lot of side tangents in this video. If you've stuck towards the end, I just want to let you know you're loved by God, let you know that in the suffering, there's still fruit. And I just pray that your day is blessed. Bye.